This week's video reflection is going to be interesting because all of us are going to give their interpretation of the same piece. So it will be fun to listen to everybody's thoughts on this piece. So this reflection on George Marsden's The Outrageous Idea of Christian Scholarship. To me, I'm focused on just really the four chapters. And I'm going to give a brief overview of those chapters. And I think it's interesting because I've been in Christian education in high school for going on 20 years. And I've got friends that also teach in public school. And I think that there is opportunity. There are obviously in public schools, there's various, different depend on the school system, but rules and laws that of what you can and can't do. But I find that a lot of my Christian friends that teach in public school are still able to not necessarily, maybe they can't evangelize, but they definitely do allow their Christian testimony to be on display. And I think that's the roughly in a couple chapters here what Marsden says. I'm outside today, and it is like 90 degrees because I have family that's doing all kinds of stuff inside today. So I'm going to try to hurry this up. But in chapter 1, he talks about students, being taught, in many cases in the universities, taught to suppress their Christian beliefs. And that a lot of times allows secular humanism to take over Christianity. What he says in there is that Christians need to focus on doing is finding that balance. And obviously finding a balance without compromising the fundamentals of the faith. Chapter 2, he discusses the sharing of beliefs and talking about how, we went from, Christianity being in the forefront, then the Enlightenment, and then from the Enlightenment to the scientific method, and that was the way to lead to progress and empirical evidence. But he notes that you got to think of some pre-theoretical influences. For example, African Americans or Native Americans, that makes a difference as to how some things are perceived, and we certainly see that in today's society. But then he discusses, some problems with the mainstream academic professionals. I mentioned those three problems, and three problems that a lot of seculars would say. But I think it's interesting that, we can still, as Christians, still share these things without compromising. Our traditional viewpoints and just be basically what we need to do is be hospitable and open to some scientific investigation, because there's some valid proof to this. And I think an example of this would be Answers in Genesis. They have two museums. They have the Creation Museum and then the Ark right here in my home state of Kentucky. And they do an excellent job of showing how science and Scripture can go together. Chapter 4 looks at the difference that, what a difference we could make and we can make. And what I think is interesting with this chapter is the one thing that really stuck out to me was that the Gestalt picture of how things are viewed. Do you see the duck or do you see the rabbit? And what I remembered was this. There was a John Piper in his book, Don't Waste Your Life. He quotes a poem by C.T. Studd saying, "Only one life will soon be passed. Only what's done for Christ will last." And I think that's the important thing we can take away from this, and take away from what we're learning from Marsden, is that as Christians, we can still share our beliefs, but maybe through testimony, and not give up any sort of academic or scholarship in the classroom or any other academic area. Hey guys, have a great week. It's been fun doing these, and have a great summer.